Hello and welcome to Spotlight. I am Comfort Musa. Spotlight is a co-production of Naya TV and Sister Speak 237, a platform where we discuss about issues, persons, communities that are often ignored in our everyday stories. Today we look at a very peculiar topic. Researchers say that in Cameroon every year, about 500,000 women have unplanned pregnancies. We are going to be looking at unplanned pregnancies and the need for planning properly for pregnancies. We have with us Dr. Dobit Sama, obstetrician gynecologist. Good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon, Comfort.
Oh, it's actually Professor Dobit Sama. Okay, good to have you with us on the program. And we have an amazing community organizer. Her name is Quinta Ka. She is the executive secretary of Renata Network. Welcome, Queen.
Thank you, Comfort.
And Renata Network, can you tell us a bit what is Renata and what do you do?
Okay, Renata is a French acronym meaning Réseau National des Associations de Tantines. And Tantines actually are teenage mothers who had early and unwanted pregnancy and who were trained on sexual reproductive health, and they decided to come together to fight against this ill so that what has happened to them shouldn't happen to others too. So that's actually
national. It's a national network of teen mothers.
Yes, it's a national network of teen mothers because we are found in the 10 regions of Cameroon where we carry out community activities on the prevention of early and unwanted pregnancies. We fight against gender-based violence and cultural practices, and equally the promotion or the demand creation of family planning to prevent early and unwanted pregnancy.
We're going to learn more about your work and why it's important, especially in a context where, like we heard, we have close to 500,000 women having unintended pregnancies. And Professor Dobit, can you just give us a look at what your day looks like as an obstetrician gynecologist? When you go to work in the morning, what do you do?
First of all, I would like to tell you that I'm a physician, obstetrician gynecologist, and at the same time, I'm a teacher in the faculty of medicine at the University of Yaoundé. A typical day, early in the morning, our responsibility. First responsibility in the hospital are the patients admitted in the ward, are the patients operated upon. You do a quick clinical review of their cases, how they are doing. That's what we call ward rounds. The ward rounds are usually followed by a brief meeting with students where you discuss the pertinent cases in the wards. You plan their management. Also, some of these days we plan brief lectures with the students, and then we quickly go outpatient consultation. As a specialist in the hospital, we have 2 outpatient consultation days per week. We have 2 operation days for planned surgeries, planned cases to operate. And we have a day on Wednesdays, typically is a day meant for clinical teaching. Where we do clinical ward rounds, we teach the students, we do bedside teaching. And then our days usually end by 3 p.m., 3:30, and we continue in the faculty with classroom lectures. So
all your hours are taken, and this is for the work that is planned because there are emergencies that
emergencies, of course, because you go to the faculty by 3:34, you're in the faculty. When you finish your the days that you have lectures, when you finish, like in my case, this week is my supervision week in the hospital for clinical call. So all emergencies that will come to hospital,
respond.
24 and 24 for 7 days, from last Monday to next Monday morning, I have to respond. So
and amongst the cases that you have at your hospital with regard to maternal health, what are the problems that are most recurrent?
Yeah, it depends. We know I'm an obstetrician and a gynecologist, so obstetrics takes care of the pregnant woman and her pregnancy, and gynecology looks at the woman's health out of pregnancy.
Right.
So we have pathologies related infectious pathologies, tumor pathologies, and that's in terms of gynecology. In obstetrics, we have most of the women that come to consult are doing fairly well. They are not ill. They are just doing a routine antenatal consultation.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we have cases that develop problems during their pregnancy, fever, malaria in pregnancy, threatened abortion, threatened preterm delivery, and the rest. So there is all of this variety of cases that we can see. Yeah.
Yes, and you are a member of the Society of Gynecologists in Cameroon.
That's SOGOC, yeah.
SOGOC, and the Society of Gynecologists are concerned. I've read your releases where the statement says that the number of deaths from unsafe abortions, backstreet abortions, are very high, and the cases you're receiving in the hospital, you know, backstreet abortion-related complications are quite high. Do you see that in your hospital?
I will first of all give you an anecdote. We did a study comparing causes of maternal deaths in the regional hospital in Bamenda. We compared with the cases in the Yaoundé Central Hospital. And what struck us was that in the Bamenda Regional Hospital, 38% of their maternal deaths were related to unsafe, what we call 38% of women who died. We studied out of 17,000 deliveries within a period of 5 years. Both hospitals had basically the same number of deliveries. So we could compare their cases. We had 38% of women who died in Bamenda Regional Hospital were patients admitted following unsafe abortion who had developed complications.
That's a high number.
Very high. Whereas in the Yaoundé Central Hospital, the cases, the women who died were mostly pregnancy-related complications like bleeding after childbirth. Yeah, so it is known. It's known that 15 to 30% of women who die from complications related to their pregnancy. Abortion represents about 15 to 30%. It's quite high.
That's a very high number, and it's concerning. That's why we're having this conversation at this time. And when you look at those who go in for unsafe abortions, it's usually young girls who have had a pregnancy and they want to terminate it. And that's why we're having Quinta with us today. You work with teen mothers in Cameroon, and your network over the years, you've worked with about 21,000 teenage mothers in Cameroon. And you, at one point in time, you were a teenage mother. So can you tell us a bit about that, being pregnant as a teen? What was that like for you?
Yeah, actually, I got pregnant at the age of 16. And at the same year, I was in Form 5, preparing for my exams. And the cause of my pregnancy really wasn't good at all, because it was as a result of violence. I was running away from being violated by my uncle, and because I was seeking for refuge, I had to fall in the hands of a boy to always be with him. So in the course, I became pregnant. And when I was pregnant, it was terrible, the news, because my father had first of all refused to send me to secondary school because he knew I would be pregnant. So he said, my place is at home. I don't have to go to secondary school. So when it happened, he disowned me. He sent me out of his house and said, I knew about this. And my uncle too sent me away. In short, the whole family except my mother, who was there, and the mother of the guy that impregnated me. So just the fact that I was going to school, I had nobody. I had to continue school because I had registered the GC O levels, and I had to write. And the pressure of what I'm going through, the trauma at home, the psychological problems I was going through, I couldn't really concentrate on studies. But at the end of the day, I wrote the exams, and thank God I succeeded. That was when I succeeded and the worst started, because I was at home doing nothing. I was being abandoned to myself alone.
At 16?
At 16, I couldn't even go. I was like an outcast, you know. The mother in the quarter, especially it's in the village, everybody was like, look at her. I don't want you to go near her. She's a taboo. She's this. So it was terrible. And I could see the worst because giving birth, I went to clinic like just 2 or 3 times.
Okay. Throughout the term of your
Throughout
pregnancy?
the term of my pregnancy, because I was ashamed.
Yeah.
And when I went the first time, I told them that I was 3 months pregnant. Meanwhile, I was 4 months pregnant. And they determined when I was going to put to bed. Actually, I gave birth before the 1 month that they gave me,
Right.
simply because I hid 1 month. And do you know what? I gave birth at home, because I didn't know that I was even on labor. I didn't even know what was happening. And the most shocking news is that I gave birth to twins.
So you're a mani?
Yes, and nobody even knew. Like, it wasn't even determined in the hospital because I never
Twins
did
at
any.
home by yourself? Who
Yeah.
was with you? How?
My mother-in-law was
Okay.
there, my aunt was there, and a mother in the village. She in the quarter. They never even knew where she just came. The first child has come out. So the second child, now she said, like, it's like there's still a baby there. I said no. She gave me
Did you
snuff.
know you were pregnant with twins?
No.
So it's until when you were having the babies that you discovered?
Exactly. And before the second baby could come out,
They gave you snuff too?
they gave me snuff to sleep. So when I met, that's
The
how
baby
the
came
second baby came out. So that's how I gave birth. And 3 weeks later, one of the babies died.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I was there by myself to take care of those children, everything. Adding another responsibility to my own personal responsibilities until after 3 years, when I was just there, they said GIZ is coming, they want to train teenage mothers. So that's how I got involved with Renata and GIZ. I was being trained after being at home for 3 years.
3 years, you're not going to school?
No school. I was there because I had to take care of course, of my child. So after the training, because back then I knew that it was all about me. I had nothing to offer again. I had nothing to do. All my dreams were gone. So thank God to this training, I realized I still have value. I could still contribute to the community. So I took upon myself back and I went back to school.
Wow.
So I went back to school. I had my advanced level, went to the university, had my degrees, and today.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. And today you're working in an organization that helps other girls who get pregnant as teens.
Yeah.
And their stories are different.
Of course, their stories are very different. You have stories of those who are even impregnated by their own family members, uncles. We have some that is fathers, we have some that is brothers, and we have some that is just classmates or unknown. And most of those we work with are those who are being impregnated due to violence, because due to violence, rape and incest at the same time. So most of them have different stories, and among those even there are some of them that even died simply due to the complications that they had, of the pregnancies that they had, that it was too late to take care of them, and then they had to lose their lives.
And amongst the women in your network, do you have girls who, out of the rejection, the shame, the difficulty of being pregnant as a teenager, are there some of them who had considered backstreet abortions? Are there some of them who had gone through it? Is it common with the women that you get to work with?
Yeah, it's very common. Most of them, actually, like when you meet, maybe she's having a child, the first child. Before having that first child, she must have done about 2 or 3 backstreet abortions before deciding to keep that one. And the way they do it is just so complicated that when, like, during the session of training, you ask, okay, what was the cause of your pregnancy? They say it. Now, have you ever done an abortion? They say yes. What did you use? I used egusi peelings. I used cassava leaves. I used a stick to send insect into my vagina. I met someone who prepared some herb. I took. I drank it, and most of them will be telling you, like, this person did it and succeeded, but when I wanted to do mine, I had this complication. Some will say they know of their friends or their family members who even died due to
as a result.
And
we're getting from Professor Dobit that in Bamenda you have as the percentage is as high as 38, you know, the cause of death. And so today on Spotlight, we are aware that backstreet and unsafe abortions is a leading cause of death for women in Cameroon. And one way to curb this is to look at pregnancies. Maybe if young girls avoid teen pregnancies, the rate will reduce. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, we have 3 main strategies in Cameroon to reduce this maternal.
Yeah.
We are talking about death, maternal death, maternal mortality. The 3 main strategies. You have pregnant women who have regularly follow-up antenatal consultation. Is a good strategy to follow up, detect early complications and take care of these cases. The second strategy is women delivering in a presence or assisted by a qualified medical staff.
Right.
Her story is quite pathetic. She delivered twins.
And it's not uncommon.
It's a complicated pregnancy at home and assisted by non-qualified persons. So you see, that's the second strategy. Women delivering under the assistance of a qualified or a trained healthcare provider. And the third strategy is family planning. Family planning, which is the use of contraceptive methods, modern contraceptive methods, which permits women to plan or to program when to become pregnant.
Right.
That effective use of family planning, modern family planning methods, will reduce by 30% the number of women dying from pregnancy-related complications.
Right. And I really appreciate you, Quinta, sharing your story with us. Hers is one in millions, you know, of young girls who get pregnant, and there's this rejection from the family. There is the stigmatization. And what struck me about her story is she did not go to the hospital until she was 4 months pregnant. And even then, she was ashamed. She didn't give the full information. What is it about the hospital that scared you from going, you know, to get help or to get consultations, proper education, and all of that?
It's not like actually the hospital scared me away, but simply because I was so ashamed to move around because I'm pregnant at an early age. And then secondly, because that the means to, like, financially, the cost I have to be taken care of. Like today, there's no money. You have to wait until the month that there will ever be money before you can go. And so when I went there, I had to lie because I was ashamed.
Right.
Yeah, I was ashamed to even tell them that. So because when you say, so is this how you have been at home? You are just coming, but now, so to me, I knew I was doing the best thing to avoid other traumas.
And you know, this shame of going to the hospital and how the hospital sometimes responds to the patients. I don't know, but there are so many stories. I'm sure you hear some of them. Young women who go to the hospitals and then the doctors and the nurses insult. Oh, you're so young. What have you been doing with boys? Look at your stomach.
Exactly.
And it scares the young girls from coming to the hospital to get help and right education.
That's very true. We actually carried out a study in Maya Hospital, in the Mother and Child Hospital in Yaoundé, Ngusso. We looked at loss to follow-up amongst adolescents who start their antenatal consultations and don't come back. And the student with whom I did that work, she was quite courageous because she went down into the communities to search for those young mothers and get adequate information from them. And we found out that it was mostly the attitude of the health personnel that scared them away.
Right.
And the risk of an adolescent abandoning or stopping follow-up in the hospital to go to the quarter was to multiply by 20 times with relation to the attitude of the healthcare provider.
Right. The attitude of healthcare providers is really a big reason why many young women who need family planning services, who need follow-up, who need antenatal services may not come, and they end up in the quarters, and the stories and the complications that we're having arise. But you have said if women, have adequate family planning, it can reduce significantly the death related to pregnancy-related complications by up to 30%.
Yeah.
But now, family planning in itself is a word that looks like something for for older women, for people who are married and who have a family. So young people don't feel included in the family planning services and design. Is this your appreciation of that? I work with young people, Quinta. I don't know what your experience is, but young people have told me family planning is for older people.
Yeah, actually, family planning, working with them, it actually depends the approach, because rather than you having complication, because when you are already sexually active, of course, we encourage you to take a family planning method because you are not yet ready for having other responsibility. So, the way we approach them, the way we sensitize them, the way we educate them, because like I said a while ago, we actually do demand creation on family planning method. We encourage the young girls, those who are sexually active, to take the family planning method, to take the contraceptive. So, and what we do again is that we really do a active accompanyship. We accompany them
members.
because we know that sending them just to go to the hospital on their own is really, really difficult. Yeah. And like the prof just said a while ago, because of the attitude of the healthcare personnel that will scare them. Hey, at the age of 16, what do you want to do with a contraceptive method? So those are some of the things. So it's really...
You're trying to make it more accessible for your members. But Prof, at what age should Cameroonian women, and I think men, start thinking about family planning?
Every woman at the childbearing age, as soon as a young girl gets into puberty and starts having her menses, any uncontrolled sexual relationship can lead to pregnancy. So as soon as she has her menses, she can become pregnant at any time if she's exposed to unprotected sex. But the particularity about the teenagers, adolescents, especially the unmarried ones, is that we have a specific method of family planning for them.
Which one is that?
Which is a double protection. We call it dual protection. Dual means you use two methods. One must be a barrier. An adolescent can take the implants, can take injectable, can take intrauterine contraceptive device, but with an association of either the male or the female condoms. The dual protection aims at preventing also unwanted infections, HIV, hepatitis B. So we encourage unmarried adolescents and young girls to use the dual method, the barrier method, which will be the male or the female condom, associated with another modern method of contraception, which will be intrauterine device, it could be the implants, it could be injectable, it could even be the oral pills. It could even be the oral pills.
And this is what you advise for young people. I know several parents who will say for young people, do not talk to them about family planning because you may expose them to sexual activity.
You are right. In the developed world, adolescents and the young people, they have their rights to consult and receive their method of contraception. In our setting, we still have this parental barrier. But what is recommended, if an adolescent who is sexually active may not tell the parent. So in our practice, when they come to us for a contraceptive method, we make sure we give a very safe method too. But in some of the cases, we do ask them, would you like us to discuss this with your parent? If the adolescent says no, we respect her wish, and we provide the method. It's true we have had cases. But I had terrible cases. Let me quote you this case we had in my hospital. this adolescent had an unwanted pregnancy and underwent this behind the street
backstreet
abortion.
Yeah.
We call it unsafe abortion.
Yeah.
Came to hospital after providing her adequate care because comprehensive post-abortion care, you must include a family planning method because you do not want her to come back shortly afterwards with the same complaint.
Yeah.
So we provided her with the method. She accepted. And the next day, she was brought back to our hospital by the parents, requesting that we take out the method.
Wow.
That was the parent going against what is recommended scientifically.
Right.
If a girl has had an unsafe abortion because she had an unplanned pregnancy, and now she wants a safe method,
to
which is
protect
a dual
herself,
protection, provided her with enough condoms, and then provided her with a modern contraceptive method, in which case, if she had not, from that day onward, if she practiced our method, she would have been protected from infections and from other unplanned or unwanted pregnancies.
So did
but
you remove the...
And in fact, my family planning provider, before she came to me, the pressure was so much that she had taken out the method before coming to complain.
Oh.
Yeah, she had to because she was under threat. The father was bent. How dare you provide a method to my daughter without asking my opinion?
Wow.
I don't want. I've had a case of a...
We'll take a little break, and then when we come back, we'll hear more about these cases and the complications and what must be done to protect the young people. These are the complications we have. There is a clear need for family planning for young people who are getting pregnant, unintended pregnancies, but there are these conflicts with families and customs and society, and we'll look at how to overcome this. More on this after the break.
Nous avons pensé. Pour mieux répondre à vos attentes, nous avons rehaussé le standard.
Say, better than what you imagine.
Welcome back. Before the break, Professor Dobit Sama was telling us this story about a girl who came into the hospital with post-abortion complications, and you sent her home with a comprehensive abortion care, which included a family planning method. And the parents brought her back to the hospital the next day and asked you to take out the contraceptive. Did you do it? Even
what I'm saying is that we got news about this when the family planning provider, service provider, had taken out the method. But she was under threat. She could not even move out of her office.
Threat from the parents.
From the parents.
Even if removing it meant she was going to be exposed to another unplanned pregnancy.
Of course. That it's true. You see, there's this problem of communication. This problem of communication. The young girl consulted alone, was not accompanied by the parents when she had her complications. Abortion-related complications. She was taken care of. And then went back home and announced to the mother that, as you are seeing, I got to hospital, I was taken care of, and they have given me a method. The mother being scared by the reaction, the subsequent reaction of the father, had to inform the father. The next day they were back in hospital. But what we recommend is, when we're taking care of abortion-related complications, to provide a complete package to the patient who is suffering this complication, family planning is part and parcel of it.
Oh, God, yeah.
If you take care of a patient who has had complications related to an unsafe abortion and you don't provide family planning method, you have not treated that patient completely.
Right. And earlier when Quinta was sharing her story, you mentioned the fact that access to the hospital, access to youth-friendly service was an issue, and also the cost. There are things you could not afford, so you decided to stay home. How accessible and how affordable is it for youths nowadays?
It's really not easy because first you have the cost, which is not harmonized, though the government has a list that is published with the prices on it for the different contraceptive modern methods. But when you get them, since some of those hospitals are not really friendly, most of those girls prefer going to this clinic in the quarters where they can freely get the method, and that is more costly. Renata did some work in 2016 to 17, where we were working with the main district hospital here in Yaoundé to make demand creation for family planning for women and adolescents who are sexually active. And like Doc said a while ago, we really encourage the dual method, where they take a modern contraceptive method and then they use condoms to avoid falling into pregnancy and having past-treat abortion or unsafe abortions again. Okay. So we had a problem at the level of prices and even accessibility. It's really not easy to access them, to even know where exactly you get the method, where you can get them, and then at what price you can have them.
So, Prof, let's look at the various family planning methods that are available for women and for sexually active youths in Cameroon, and where they can find these.
Yeah, what I'll happily tell you is that since 2012, we have been doing a wide national training workshops.
Your national trainer on reproductive health,
reproductive health. We have trained several health care providers to provide these methods, family planning methods. But I will speak specifically about my hospital because we're talking about access. My hospital is one of those hospitals in Cameroon.
Just to remind us, your hospital is
the Mother and Child Hospital in Yaoundé.
The one that is known as Gyneco.
It's called Gyneco here at Gusmo. We actually run an adolescent clinic. We're talking about youths and adolescents. We have an adolescent clinic that went functional since 2015. And the particularity about this clinic is that we receive adolescents and youth up to the age of 24 on Wednesdays from 1 to 5 p.m., 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And the consultation is free. Those who want to get family planning consultation, it is free. Those who want to adopt a family planning method, be it a modern family planning method, it is offered free. We get the inputs, the inputs, we get them from the Department of Family Health, Ministry of Public Health. We regularly receive inputs for the adolescents and youth, so their methods are provided to them free of charge. You don't pay a dime. Concerning all the other women, there are various prices that they need to pay for the sustainability of the services. Now, the various methods, you asked about the various methods. We have the natural methods, the artificial methods.
And the natural methods?
And you have natural, artificial, and modern methods.
Okay.
Modern methods include artificial and some natural methods.
Okay.
For example, lactational amenorrhea. A woman who has delivered and is strictly breastfeeding and has not had her menses within the first 6 months is effectively covered, protected against an unwanted pregnancy. That's a natural method, which is also a modern method. Or other methods like calculating the fertile period all other methods, it's true, the failure rate may be quite high.
Right.
So we encourage artificial methods who have efficacies above 95%. You have the short-acting reversible methods, you have the long-acting reversible methods, and then you have the sterilization methods, the sterilization or tubal ligation, or vasectomy. Now, concerning the short-acting reversible methods, you have the oral pills, oxygen combined with progesterone or progesterone-only pills. You have the condom, we mentioned about that. We have the injectables. Consider long-acting reversible methods. I'm talking about the methods available in our family planning program in Cameroon. There are all other methods, hormonal methods, with the patch, the vaginal ring, and the rest, which are not included in our family planning program. Long-acting reversible methods, we have the implants.
Right.
Jadea or Implanon-X. Implanon-X will last for 3 years. You change, but as soon as you decide to make a baby, you have a right to go back for the method to be discontinued. The Jadea will last for 5 years. When you have Jadea, you have protection for 5 years. After that period, you can go for it to be changed, to be renewed. You get a new method. We have the intrauterine contraceptive device, the IUCD. Some people call it sterile in French. The IUCD is a copper T. It can be effective up to 12 years. But if after 1 year of use you decide to make a baby, it's right, you go back to the provider to take out the method and you have your other baby. So those are the long-acting reversible methods, implants, and intrauterine contraceptive device.
And are these methods available across Cameroon?
Of course.
In the rural areas beyond the big cities?
Yeah, let me tell you, there's this concept of human rights. Human rights. If you want to respect the rights of the population that you're serving, as a family planning service provider, you must make yourself available and the methods available. These methods are available at the level of the regions. You have the regional drug service. I don't know how, but the regional funds that have the methods. As a service provider in a district hospital, in a subdivisional hospital, or even in an integrated health center, it just suffices to pass the order for the method to be provided. And but whether we recommend only trained health personnel to provide these methods because client safety is very important.
Who can access them? If you have sexually active adolescents and youth under the age of 18, can they access these services? Do they need parental consent to access these services?
I was talking about, in the developed world, is known adolescents and the youth who think it's a right, or they have the right to be sexual active, to have responsible sexual life. They can access these methods without parental consent. The concern with us here, and it's true, actually, we are running a program in my hospital in collaboration with the World Bank, where most of the methods, the clients that come receive a lot of discount. Who can access? We had this debate with the team from the World Bank concerning parental consent. It took us a lot of time to convince them that we needed parental consent with respect to what I've explained to you, the experiences that we had in the hospital,
with parents.
In my hospital, parents opposing the fact that we provide patients, people who have had abortion-related complications with family planning methods. So we have we take parental consent and provide these methods. But the adolescents that will not want their parents to know, we give them their methods. That is what is scientifically recommended.
Okay.
And as I said, adolescents and the youth up to 24 years, the methods are given them free of charge. They don't pay. In my hospital, Mother and Child Hospital in Guso.
So if I come, I'll have to pay.
You are not adult, you are not the youth, so you pay.
But
you have a discount.
Okay. Earlier on, Quinta, you you talked about you having that experience of an unplanned pregnancy and how, you know, it affected your life. You stayed out of school for 3 years. Now, what are some of the reasons that you can give to the young girls who are listening to us? What are why should they not get pregnant now? Because a professor has talked about all these family planning methods, what is available for youth, you know. But why should they intentionally decide that I want to plan my life, I don't want to get pregnant, I need to go for the services?
Yeah, okay, Comfort, thank you very much for that question. It's very important for them to plan because unplanned pregnancy has so many consequences. You have consequences on the child, you have consequences on the girl, you have consequences on the parents, you have consequences in the community at large. So it's very important for them to plan it because on the girl herself, there are just so many of them. You have early responsibility, rejection, you have abandonment to herself, she even have medical issues on herself. Then with the baby as well, the baby she is not able to take care of herself. Then the baby, she have added another responsibility to the family. And you see, most of these children, they are not being recognized because they don't have birth certificate, simply because there is no way for them to afford that. And in the community, you know, it affects both the parents. Like you see the mother in the meeting place, hey, we don't want to hear your child is already having a baby, you are a disgrace to the community, we don't want. It even causes conflict in between the father and the mother at home, simply because the father or the mother will be trying to support the child. There will be problem. That we have cases where family even get divorced simply because of that issue. Yeah, and you see in the community, like here am I today. If I didn't go back to school, I wouldn't have been contributing to what I'm doing today to the community, simply because I had an earlier pregnancy. So it's very important to plan it because it has a lot of consequences that if care is not taken, you don't live your dream, you might even die before your time due to your complication at birth.
Unplanned pregnancy.
Yeah.
The consequences of an unintended pregnancy and why it's important to plan. But these are mostly societal and social reasons why. Professor, are there any biological reasons, you know, that support the advocacy Renata and others are doing, asking youth to wait and not get pregnant until they are older? Biologically, is there a problem if you have baby as a teen?
As a teenage, when you are not attained maturity, all your organs are still growing.
Maturity would be which age?
Maturity, you should be at least 18 years and above.
Okay.
Before then, all your organs are still growing. The uterus is still growing, the bones, the pelvic bones are still growing. In which case, teenagers, adolescents who get early pregnancy, they are more at risk of having miscarriages, preterm delivery, losing their pregnancy. And those that carry their pregnancies even to term, as she said, access to healthcare is a big challenge. Access to healthcare is a big challenge. And the pregnancy that is not well followed up, well taken care of, is at risk of having all these complications. Now, at childbirth, as I said, the pelvis is still growing. Her bones are what you call the passage of the baby is still very small. So during labor and delivery, you have this confrontation between the head of the baby and the maternal pelvis, and she may get into prolonged labor with obstructed labor and all these complications, obstetric fistulas and the rest. Obstetric labor and obstetric fistula is known today as poverty-related disease because you are poor, you didn't have money to go to get adequate health care during your pregnancy, you didn't have access to adequate health care during labor, so you went into prolonged labor, obstructed labor with all these complications, uterine rupture, obstetric fistulas. You may even die from these complications. Those who survive sustain long-term morbidity, like what I said, the fistulas. If you get operated, if you develop a uterine rupture, you get operated at that very tender age, and your uterus may be completely destroyed, taken out. That's a lifetime infirmity that you have. So it is advisable to avoid all these too early pregnancies by responsible sexual behavior and family planning, which permits you to program at what age and in what year you may want to have a baby.
Well, going by all what you have said, there's every reason why the adolescents, the young people who are watching us, have to wait and have babies when biologically their bodies are prepared to have it, socially and economically when they can support these children. We are going to move on now to some of our viewers to have their say on this topic, and when we come back, we will get conclusions from Professor Dobit Sama and from Quinta Carr.
Teenage pregnancy has become too rampant in our Cameroonian society recently, and I think this is as a result of peer pressure among the young girls. What we as parents need to do is to educate our child at home, tell them what they need to know about the reproductive health system, teach them about abstinence, and why not how to use contraceptives. And if by chance they become pregnant, dear parents, please don't yell at them. Encourage them, advise them, let them have the baby, let them keep the pregnancy. The mortality rate is becoming alarming.
Unsafe abortion is a big societal issue as well as a direct cause of maternal death. The major cause of these unsafe abortions are unplanned pregnancies or unwanted pregnancies. This affects adolescents, married women, as well as elderly women who have attained their family size. The impact of these unsafe abortions could be immediate, where we have infections and bleeding, for which we might transfuse a woman sometimes. Long-term consequences might be fertility issues. How do we prevent this from happening? By preventing unwanted pregnancies. To prevent unwanted pregnancies, we have family planning methods which are available all over Cameroon and every health center. We advise women to go for these family planning methods because they do not cause infertility at all. And if you have a pregnancy which is unwanted, you go to the hospital for care instead of going to the quarters to clandestine people that cannot help you.
The World Health Organization estimates that 50% of pregnancies resulting to unsafe abortion were unplanned, and thus the high rate of unsafe abortion. Unsafe abortion is preventable because unplanned pregnancy is preventable. And one of the means which we can prevent unplanned pregnancies is through comprehensive sexuality education. And these can be given to young people, to adolescents, by their parents, by their guidance, or can be taught in school. If young people are given the right information at the right time, we strongly believe that unplanned pregnancies will be prevented. Also, if our health facilities are made to be more youth-friendly, it could also go a long way to reduce the rate of unsafe abortions being done in the houses or in the quarters, because coming to the health facilities, they will have the right information and the right procedures will be used in cases where safe abortion needs to be carried out. So again, we're telling the young people that unsafe abortion equals to death, unsafe abortion equals to infertility. Be careful, you can prevent it.
Teenage pregnancy is devastating. In my opinion, the idea of the prevention of teenage pregnancy should not be limited to the girl child and their families, but should be extended to the boy child and their families, because even though the consequences are glaring on the girl child, at the end of the day, the boy child also have some explanations and some apologies to make. The parents of the boy child also have some thinkings to do and some decisions to make. So you see, there are consequences on both sides. And the best way to prevent teenage pregnancy and its consequences is through early education on sex and its consequences. It is, however, heartbroken knowing that your kid is about to become a parent even before you expect it. But at this point, it is not a time for judgment. It is not a time for sermon. It's not even time for prevention because it has already happened. What they need at this point in time is love and support. I'm talking about love and support. I'm not talking about you taking up all their responsibilities, but to guide them through this phase because it is a phase of learning.
So at this point in time, we shall be parting ways with our guests. But before we go, Professor Dobit, there is a lot you said, messages, especially for parents and for young people. What do you want to leave us with?
Yeah, what I will leave you with is that parents have to take their responsibility. You know, there's a big challenge. It's a taboo. Sexuality, discussing sexuality with your adolescents at home is a big taboo. Why not consult the adolescent clinics? Most of the hospitals around have adolescent clinics, and get these adolescents informed about what is available, how can they responsibly plan their life, their sexual life, and the rest. So parents take their responsibility, either accompany your adolescents to hospitals or you allow them go. In my hospital, Wednesday, 1 p.m., 5 p.m., we receive adolescents free consultation, free family planning methods. Everything is free on Wednesdays.
Hope some of the youths who are watching us will turn up on Wednesday from 1 to 5 p.m. to get sex and reproductive health education. Quinta Carr, you work with so many teenage mothers and you are keen on making sure that other teens do not become mothers as teenagers. What's your message for them as you leave us today?
Okay, my message is very simple, is that you need to plan, you need to wait. And if you are already sexually active, we advise you to use condoms because condoms are the other thing that will prevent you from not only having pregnancy, but equally HIV and other STIs. And if you are already a teenage mother, don't give up. And don't plan on going back having the second one, but plan that the second one should come till when you are ready to have the second one.
Thank you very much, Professor Dobit Sama. Thank you, Quinta Carr. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today on Spotlight. Until next time, it's goodbye from us.